Coach Knowles to the first person who raises their hand. Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com, second row.
We were talking to defensive backs over the course of the spring. We were talking to, I guess the one that jumps to my head is Jordan Hancock talking about how he's playing corner and nickel. So was there a point at which you decided that you maybe had to be more multiple in the back than you were last year? Are we reading that wrong? Do you not expect to be more multiple back there?
No, I just think it's trying to put the best guys in the best positions, trying to get your best 11 on the field, being prepared for matchups, right, as they come now or in the future, kind of a long-term thing, so we get the right people, and when we need them on a slot. It was good to get Jordan prepared for that so that he understands it.
I'm sorry, second row right, Bill Landis, Rivals, the podcast.
Jim, I'm assuming you've gotten into some of the Jack stuff by this point with C.J. Hicks. How has that looked to you? Has it matched up with what you thought that might look like? Did you consider the possibilities?
Yeah, I like C.J. there. Mitchell, Melton, too. Both those guys have been active and, understanding of the system and making a lot of plays. There's some freedom that goes with it, and I think there's a future for both of them.
Do you have an idea at this point, as you're closer to the game, what percentage of the time you'd like to use that with your defense?
That's private information. Yeah, got to keep that. There's spies listening.
Third row right, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, have Sonny and Jihad kind of solidified themselves as starting safeties at this point, or are you still working your way through that?
Sonny has. Sonny is, he's definitely a guy we're going to have on the field as much as we can. He can match up, to both 11 and 12 personnel when people bring in two tight ends. He gives us a lot more versatility. Jihad's doing well. Been banged up a little bit. In that high safety area, you're looking at Lathan for sure. He's had a great camp, great spring. And then you're looking at Proctor and Malik and Jihad. Really those three are fighting it out for that other position. And between the three of them, they'll play there and also back up Lathan. Yeah. But there's very much a competition still going on for that other spot.
Third row right, Tony Gergman, Buckeye Huddle.
Malik Hartford as a possibility, true freshman, free safety. What kind of concerns has, I guess, maybe he alleviated over camp, and what kind of concerns would that give you?
It's day to day, but you feel Malik's presence on the field, and I think when you're talking about DBs, right, we all want to feel their presence on the field, including you, the fans. You want to feel it, and Malik is a guy who is going to show up around the ball. He's very smart. Yeah, of course you worry about freshman mistakes, and back there a mistake is costly. So, it's our job to judge his progress. He's on that path. He's on that path, and we just got to keep fine tuning it.
Third row left, Andy Andrews, 11 Warriors.
Yes. How have you seen the defensive line progress throughout camp? What's been the level of pressure, and how does it maybe tie in with some of the, you're talking about the secondary getting more hands on balls. How have they been playing complementary coverage versus rush?
Right. I say coverage and rush, and the whole defense says working together. It's hand in hand, and our rushmen have had a great camp. We have 4 ends there that I think are as good as anyone in the country. I think the depth there is fantastic. I think you have elite players. You have potentially elite players. JT, Jack, Kenyatta, Caden Curry is just a guy who's going to show up and make plays. So you got 4 really good ends, and I feel like the rush has been strong. We've felt it. we felt it and seen it during camp.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Obviously, the big issue at the end of last year was giving up big plays. What progress have you seen in that area?
And I've seen progress, you know. I've seen a conscientious effort on all of our parts to make sure that we fix whatever mistakes happen, learn from those and get better. And I've seen myself develop in terms of coverages and defenses that keep the ball more in front and inside, and you know, a development of myself. I mean, that's how I think a coach grows. You know, you can't be stuck in your ways, and you know, so I've done that, looked at everything. So we've added to the package or called some things more that put us in a better position to prevent those.
You said what you said about the defensive ends. I know you've got a linebacker. You feel good about the secondary. Defensive tackles are good. What questions do you have about this defense, or just a matter of doing what you think they can do?
Yeah, I want to make sure that we solidify that other safety position, like between Proctor and Malik and Jihad. I think that battle is still out there, so I want to make sure we solidify that. Our corner development has been great. Davison has been one of the best cover guys in camp. I mean, I think our receivers would say that. So between him and Jordan and Denzel, I see a ton of growth there. You're always concerned about depth inside, you know, at defensive tackle, because those guys just get beat up. It's a hard position. But Mike Hall can be elite. Stay healthy. He's talented. Plays hard. Ty. So Tyleek's been a little banged up. You know, so you see waves during camp at that defensive tackle position where it can become thin quickly. One of the young guys I think has had a really good camp is Hero Canoe. I mean, he has showed up, so I think he's going to add to our depth there.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS.
Coach, I'm curious. Ryan says the QBs are equal. So in practice, you've got a scheme against both of them. Is there anything different between them? Or like when Kyle's in, what do you change versus when Devin's in with the defense?
No comment. Next. Yeah, I know it's a good question, but I can't participate. So. You know. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
What growth have you seen from Jack Sawyer putting his hand back in the ground?
Yeah, last 2 days actually. Jack, just put him in a Silver Bowl of the day last 2 days. He's really I felt like, he was at a high level during camp, and then last 2 days he just kind of vaulted himself into being a dominant guy. So a lot of growth. I think that's been a good move to just have him concentrate on that.
Fourth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Jim, at the beginning of the offseason, it was JT and Jack as the two mainstays at defensive end. When did it become JT, Jack, and Kenyatta?
Spring. Spring, really. I mean, Kenyatta showed up. He's got a great first step. I mean, he jumps off the video. It's just you can't deny that he's out there making plays and making life difficult for the offense.
You've got a guy that athletic to pair, whether you want to pair him with Jack or with JT or just get him in space. Do you have to reconsider whether you guys want to use the Jack position as much just because you have that athleticism from a true defensive end? And how does that go into whether you actually want it?
Sure, it goes into it. Absolutely. You want to get the best players on the field in the best situations. It's never about what I know or any. It's about what's best. And I think that's a real thing. We got some talent there, so we got to feature those guys. And a lot of times, the best way to feature them is just let them put their hand down and go.
Back wall, Jeremy Birmingham, Rivals, the podcast.
Jim, you mentioned Jack and the leap he's made being able to be in one spot. When you talk about a guy like Mitchell Melton, who has struggled with injury but then moving back and forth position-wise. How important has it been for him this fall? And have you found yourself thinking maybe he should stay hand in the ground at defensive end as well, because he's obviously moving up that rank, and then you have a guy like C.J. Hicks who maybe is more built for the bullet or the jack as you have always sort of had.
Yep, I think that's a real consideration. Mitch has grown a lot at just the defensive end position. So taking him into that role, you have to have consideration for what does that take away from him as a jack. But he's really smart. Mitch is very smart, very level-headed. But I've seen a lot of progress out of him at defensive end. So that's how you have to kind of look at it player by player and day by day, and how much are they handling it without diminishing other things that they do at other positions. And but it's certainly a consideration.
Not to be too narrowed in on a specific player, but where does Caden Curry fit into this defense as you?
Yeah, Caden's going to play a lot. I mean, you could, all along that front, he's going to fit, I think, in different places because, maybe not on rundowns, but you got to be ready for this guy to do anything on pass downs because he plays hard, and he's hard to handle for the offense. So we can come up with any different ways to get him on the field, but you'll see him at a regular defensive end on a regular basis. You may see him at other places in pass rush situations.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals, the podcast, 97.1.
Jim, it seems like
That's a lot.
I know it's you got to keep them all straight. Jerry does a great job. When it seems like Cody Simon has had another solid camp for you all, it's I guess I don't know if this qualifies as a secret for the spies, but it feels hard for us to envision where exactly he fits for you if with Tommy and Steele being out there so much. What do you kind of envision for Cody?
Yeah, Cody's got to play a lot at linebacker, right? Because we need to. Same with CJ, right? I need to do a better job of projecting towards the end of the season, and that includes, like we talked about with my defenses and what I plan for and those matchup games, and how do we keep guys healthier over the long run. And I think that's where Cody comes in. He's got to be in there a lot early on in the season as a regular linebacker. But you're still going to see him at a Sam position. Again, we have Sonny, so Sonny can be really kind of interchangeable against all personnels. But when teams get really big, Cody's a guy you're still going to see there.
It feels like this question, and then Berm asked it, a lot of different guys have versatility to move around. Do you feel like there's more depth and ability for you to create than at this time a year ago?
Absolutely, but I have to be careful with that, right? Because you want guys to know exactly what they're doing so that they can play fast, So I have to always judge the creativity versus the fundamentals necessary for playing a position and knowing exactly what to do to be able to do it quickly. So, but there is enough there to kind of play around with in different spots, and I have to use my judgment of what's best for the defense in that.
Got time for a couple more. Front row, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, just to clarify with Sonny, he would the starting safety spot would be nickel for him.
Yeah, nickel Sam, strike. Maybe I'll call him a strike. Because I don't know, nickel Sam. Single, strike. I come up with strike. Maybe strike's a cool name, but yeah. So he's definitely a combination of those two.
What was it about that spot that was ultimately that suited him the best after getting to watch? I mean, you talked about him being kind of versatile and can do it all, but what was it about that spot in the secondary that was sort of where you liked him?
Yeah, well, that has been mainly a third corner DB type of spot for me. Tanner came here from Oklahoma State, and then you get into a lot of situations where there's still a tight end in that matchup there, and not a slot, and then you kind of just trying to hold up with a nickel. And I saw in Sonny is that he has the ability to play high safety, to play man coverage, but he also has the length and the toughness to play up close to the ball. So you play him as a in that nickel strike position, and now you have a lot more flexibility in terms of, okay, is he man on the slot? Is he zone? Is he inside? Is he outside? Is he blitzing off the edge? You know, he just creates a whole nother dynamic. I had a guy a lot like him. You guys might remember him, Jeremy Cash, who was at Ohio State, actually, and then came to Duke and was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and Jim Thorpe and all kinds of things. Because he was considered a DB, but he was really, you know, he was really almost like an outside linebacker. Sonny's, that's kind of the body type there.
And we'll have today's Elam ending end with Tim May, Rivals,
I get it.
Tim May podcast.
If you were voting, if you had voted for Tommy Eichenberg as captain, if you were a player instead of a coach or something, why would you have voted Tommy Eichenberg captain for this team for a second straight year?
Because I want a guy who, no matter what happens, no matter what the situation, when you get into that fog, you know, that happens out there when maybe you hit a little adversity, I want a guy who's never going to flinch. You know, I want someone who's going to lead, not so much through his words, but just by being a stalwart for the program. He's going to be there. He's going to be on the front line. He's going to be, you know, diagnosing things. He's going to be figuring it out if something goes wrong. He's never going to point fingers. You know, he's always going to look at his own deficiencies or plays that didn't go right. He's always going to be hard on himself. You know, he's just that dude. You know.
And the other quickie, I asked Ryan about this a minute ago, but do you feel like y'all, I don't know, the season hasn't started yet, but you now have got a preseason camp under your belts. Do you feel like y'all hit a home run in the transfer portal based on the guys you've got, Jihad, Tywan Malone, and Igbinosin? How would you describe what they have brought, I guess, to the program?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we could have done better. So yeah, I would definitely consider it a success. Number one, because all three guys, you know, they're team guys, a good culture. None of them came in saying me, and what am I going to get? And you can throw them in right away at Ohio State. Again, you know, a great offensive system, and they compete. I mean, that's, you know, you can't do that with everyone, and they can get in there and they can compete. So yeah, it's been good.